talking about government, be proactive. Nigeria is going somewhere. Nigeria is on the path of greatness. You're welcome to the program. This is Voters Forum, and I'm Wale Ogunade, your host. We're going to look at something that is trending very contemporary today. We are all living in it. And I studied economics before I became a lawyer. And there's what we call galloping inflation in economics. And that's what we are going through. But for your information, during the period of galloping inflation where nobody can predict prices, goods and services, at the end of the day, you can be sure that this galloping inflation normally leads to growth. So it's a stage, it's a process, it's a phase. It won't go for a long time, it won't be for a long time. It will go. All we want to do, and what we want you to do, is that let us all see how we can turn this situation around for each and every one of us. Government may not be anything near it. It is you that will see how you can get yourself out, being proactive, thinking out of the box, and bring things bigger. There are so many opportunities. Buying and selling, providing services in this era of internet, in this era of technology. There are so many things you can do. To that extent, I welcome you formally to this program. Today, Voters Forum it is. And you are getting us and reaching us live through Dollarized television. We are streaming on all the social media platforms. And of course, this program is particularly designed and to encourage you, the youth. So we are on social media to ensure that while you are doing and hustling around, you just take a time and watch it on the go. And we are on together. We'll come back very soon to unveil our guests. Before then, let us watch the mini feature. And we will tell your people we are around the corner.
Dollarization has gained prominence in Nigeria because the naira has lost its value. Contracting parties in Nigeria prefer the dollar to the naira as a means of exchanging goods and services because the value of the naira is constantly fluctuating and unstable. Therefore, rather than worry that the dollar has become legal tender in Nigeria, the President's Tinubu administration, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the country's monetary authorities should work hard to stabilize the naira. If the naira is strengthened, it can enhance stability and credibility in the international market. A stronger currency implies that the government has control over its economy. The Central Bank of Nigeria needs to implement monetary policy adjustments to stabilize the naira, address speculative activities in the forex market, and increase the withdrawal limit of the naira to reduce pressure on the United States dollars and other foreign currencies. Government needs to formulate policies and structural reforms to reduce corruption and promote economic diversification within the nation's economy. We cannot have a free-for-all policy where there are no regulations, because there is no economy that thrives on a free market policy where everybody determines what the forces of the market determines. In Nigeria, some of the policies are not realistic, and the effect has been heavy on the common man, because we cannot dollarize every of our activity. It makes it difficult for the economy to improve locally. Hence, why we cannot compete internationally. So as much as possible, we should reduce dollarization of our commodities, activities and services. An economy should be driven, and it must have drivers of the economy who will point the direction of how it should go. The force of demand and supply determines the exchange rate. So the foundation of success lies in innovation, trust and customer-centric approach. Nigeria needs a team of dedicated experts and a deep understanding of the industry where we'll be at the forefront of financial solutions catering to the unique needs and aspirations of valued clients. A good handle of the current insecurity challenges, along with macroeconomic stability, will be very helpful in rationalization of import structure and to manage the demand for forex. There is also a need to focus on productive knowledge in Nigeria with skills that can drive an industrially powered economy. Therefore, while taking steps to put an end to the semi-dollarization of the economy, improving the country's forex earnings and stabilizing the exchange rate requires developed domestic production structure for a diversified economy and export orientation that is supported by an effective trade policy as well as a conducive macroeconomic environment. Report written by Teslima Jai for Galaxy TV.
Yes, you're welcome back. What a topic. What an idea. And that's what is happening. In fact, the most interesting thing is that people want to, in fact, very soon now, if you want to buy tomatoes in a local market, in far-flung, maybe Jalingo, or even Aganebodi, not to talk of Ednabo, all you need is that they will tell you to bring it dollar. They don't want naira. Because unfortunately, everything is dollarized. You ask the local market woman, she will tell you dollar has gone up. And that's why their own prices are going up. And that's why I made my little intro initially about the about the galloping inflation. Anyway, I'm not alone in the studio. I have a guest who is very, very cerebral. He's a legal practitioner of no mean repute. And of course, a great analyst. He's no other person than Kingsley Chime. You're welcome to
Thank you so much, Mr. Brade. It's a pleasure being here.
You're welcome. So, Kingsley, we are looking at the dollarized economy. Dollarized economy. Is there, why is it that everywhere you go now, everyone is talking dollar? The naira is just seen in using exchange, but it is the dollar that is used to do the calculation. Why? Note my statement.
Yes.
Dollar, naira exchange, but dollar calculation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Aguade, for having me, and good afternoon, viewers. I think in your introduction you mentioned galloping inflation or something like that.
Yes.
Permit me to begin my intervention this afternoon with, because I'm not an economist, I'm a lawyer, so I would tilt more on the impact of the inflation on the average Nigerian. Of course, Nigeria is essentially operating, we operate an import economy in the sense that we import practically everything we consume in Nigeria. So that would mean that it will have an effect, an impact on our local currency, because international transactions are done with dollars. So that is why it appears that Nigeria has embraced dollar as a means of exchange. Unlike ordinarily, naira should be able to exchange for whatever we want to buy within the confines of Nigeria. But because our economy, the way it is structured, we cannot operate, outside our national economic policies. So the policies of government and the effect of excessive dependence on importation would ordinarily have an impact on naira and local currency. So when you see that each time dollar sneezes, naira catches cold, whatever affects dollar would have a far-reaching effect on naira, because we are so much dependent on dollars. So that is exactly what is happening. So when dollar began to exchange for 1,000 plus, every local market and consumable goods or whatever goods you want to purchase will skyrocket, because most of those goods are imported. So if you buy, for instance, something of 1,000 naira, and by tomorrow dollar has exchanged for a higher value, you will be forced to, you know, adjust your price based on the exchange, the current exchange rate of dollar. So what is affecting us is practically based on our economic policies and the way the economy of Nigeria is structured. We consume more of what we don't produce, and because of that, we have to exchange dollars for us to be able to purchase them.
Yes, we consume more of what we don't produce. But I'm still, you have already helped yourself out by telling us that indeed you are not an economist, and I'm not. It will be fair for me to be throwing economic questions at you. But this one is a little bit simple, and that is, I go to the market. About 4 days ago, I went to Abeokuta. Even 3 days ago, I went to Abeokuta from Lagos, through the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. On my way, of course, there are people who sell by the roadside, and I stopped to buy a bunch of plantain, and the price was so high, we started hugging. The woman just said, "Don't I know that the dollar has?" I said, "Woman, what's the problem with you? These things, I see them in fairness."
What has it got to do with
dollar?
dollar?
No, let me land. Take it over. You see, I told you it was by the roadside, by the side of the expressway. I don't know, maybe you've gone to Abeokuta.
Yes, I know.
From the interchange.
Very well.
There are stalks of banana stalks that are still hanging down. They are yet to be harvested, that I can see. I said, "What? Look at it now. What is this one with dollar?" She said, "Dollar." She said, "My own is that dollar has increased, and since dollar has increased, there's nothing she can do." She did not even try to link it up with her own. But of course, I understand her argument. But why is it so? Of course, if we look at the pepper, if you look at okra, I say all this backyard. Not even going to, I'm not talking of the one that they use diesel to bring from the north. These ones are markets by the roadside that they plugged. These are things that I know, that I can see them. They are backyard farm. Pepper, okra. In fact, the other one again was a vegetable. I asked vegetable, those ones too. They say dollar. So how can we get out of it?
Yeah, I think it also has to do with our mindset as a people. You know, our people want to take advantage of situations.
Okay,
so yes, they are trying to take advantage of the situation we have found ourselves. Okay. Much as I understand that, like I mentioned in my introductory statement, that once dollar sneezes, naira catches cold. The implication is that much as those local produce, you know, we can easily find them in Nigeria. They don't have any business, you know, fixing their prices based on current exchange rate of dollar. But they would argue that the cost of transportation of those goods, even though I understand the particular one you are referring to, is just a stone throw away from the farm. But they will tell you the cost of the farming itself, the cost of labor, because transportation will revolve around every other thing, you know, farmers are doing. Yeah. Then of course we don't have to go, if we want to go deeply into the insecurity, you know, the fear that they may not be able to, you know, farm or do what they wanted to do in volume because of fear of the unknown. But the truth of the matter is that there are certain items that have no business with exchange rate of dollar. Those things we can harvest, we can do within our backyard. But the truth is that when we talk about inflation is not just referring to all those, you know, one-off items. It's a general implication on the economy of a nation. So that inflation simply means that we now have excess money in circulation pursuing few goods. And once a simple economics is that what is being regulated by demand and supply. Yes. So when the supply of those things are in shortfall, we have excess money pursuing few goods. There is tendency for those farmers to increase their prices, and it becomes the highest bidder. So that's essentially what is happening. It is the impact of the inflation that they are now seeing that there is more demand and less supplies. So it will trigger in those increases in prices.
Okay. Yes, Now that triggers increases in prices. I've been involved in 2 or 3 or 4 transactions that they were dealt with in dollars. In Nigeria, in fact, the parties have absolutely nothing to do with anything foreign content. One, they want to be supplying themselves some farm produce. One, it's even services. The second one, services. I guess the third one is about building. And the aspect they want to relate with building are the local content, block, cement. No steel, no steel. They are just to provide the block work. Materials. Or even the material, yes, to provide the materials for the block work. Not having anything to do with steel, not with aluminium, not with ceiling, not with cables, not to talk of maybe pipes. We're talking of, and of course it's a big project. And unfortunately they just introduced dollar into it. And they dealt with that in dollar in Nigeria. And I know that the dollar is not a legal tender. Why is it so? Of course, I was aghast. They say, well, that's how they roll. That's how they can get it done so that the thing can be stable, so that they were talking about variation and so on, that they don't want any issue of variation and so on to crop up and so on and so forth. Equally, I'm not the only lawyer there, and of course, I'm for one of the interested parties, not even for the major parties. So, ours is that let them finish what they are doing, then we'll now be able to take what we have to take. And I just look at it that it's not Nigeria, it's not a dollarized economy. So why dollarize the payment for goods and services? And I learned that there are some houses and there are some estates and there are some people even who work and they are paid in dollars in Nigeria. Why?
Nigeria economy is unofficially dollarized. Yes, we can speak all the semantics in the world, yes. Yes, we can speak all we can. But specifically, if we look at the economy of Nigeria, it is unofficially dollarized. You can actually not do anything without dollar in Nigeria. If you're an importer, you understand what I'm saying. If you go through the banking channels, you will not see dollar. All those bureau de changes that are scattered all over, who gives them dollar? So you see that most of the, I hope nobody's listening to me, most of these people have connections with those in government, with the bank executives. So they give them dollar because they make more money from those, bureau de change guys. So you go there and source dollar for yourself. So you have to, whichever way you want, get the importation or whatever the transaction you want to do. So you see that unofficially that has become our means of exchange. Governors, when they receive the allocation, most of them want to change it to dollar because Naira is losing values and nobody wants to hold on to a currency that you cannot say tomorrow that this is the value of this currency, because the value of a currency depends on its purchasing power. If you have, like you were saying before we started this program, that you went to market to buy something, it was about 25K, but after a week, it turned to 50,000. So nobody wants to, do this type of business. So they would rather put their money in dollars, knowing that whatever happens, the value will not reduce or have meaningful changes at the end of the day. So that's essentially what until we begin to have policies that are tilted towards ensuring that our own local content, our own economy, our own currency, begin to have some level of transparency, because a lot of things happen within this dollarized economy. Almost everybody has a domiciliary account. Tell me why a Nigerian who apparently doesn't have an international passport will have a dollar. You are not into business, you are not manufacturing, you are not importing, but every money you get, you convert it to dollar and put into your domiciliary account. Why? So it also make the demand for dollar to be high, because that's simple economics.
And weaken the Naira.
Yes, the Naira automatically, that becomes the implication. Okay. So the economy, the structure of the economy and the policies of government would be the trigger of what will come.
We'll go on a short break. When we come back on our homeward journey, we'll look at the policy of government and how they can now make sure that Nigeria will be a Nairanized economy. And of course, the policies that we'll do, we'll prefer some solution here, so that they'll take home. But before that, we want to take a short break to drink, take a sip. I wanted to say our client. Our guest here needs some water too, and equally we all need water in this studio. You too, go and take water. Go and take water. Water is good for your body. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Dollarization has gained prominence in Nigeria because the naira has lost its value. Contracting parties in Nigeria prefer the dollar to the naira as a means of exchanging goods and services because the value of the naira is constantly fluctuating and unstable. Therefore, rather than worry that the dollar has become legal tender in Nigeria, the President's Tinubu administration, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the country's monetary authorities should work hard to stabilize the naira. If the naira is strengthened, it can enhance stability and credibility in the international market. A stronger currency implies that the government has control over its economy. The Central Bank of Nigeria needs to implement monetary policy adjustments to stabilize the naira, address speculative activities in the forex market, and increase the withdrawal limit of the naira to reduce pressure on the United States dollars and other foreign currencies. Government needs to formulate policies and structural reforms to reduce corruption and promote economic diversification within the nation's economy. We cannot have a free-for-all policy where there are no regulations, because there is no economy that thrives on a free market policy where everybody determines what the forces of the market determines. In Nigeria, some of the policies are not realistic, and the effect has been heavy on the common man. Because we cannot dollarize every of our activity, it makes it difficult for the economy to improve locally. Hence, why we cannot compete internationally. So as much as possible, we should reduce dollarization of our commodities, activities and services. An economy should be driven, and it must have drivers of the economy who will point the direction of how it should go. The force of demand and supply determines the exchange rate. So the foundation of success lies in innovation, trust and customer-centric approach. Nigeria needs a team of dedicated experts and a deep understanding of the industry where will be at the forefront of financial solutions catering to the unique needs and aspirations of valued clients. A good handle of the current insecurity challenges along with macroeconomic stability will be very helpful in rationalization of import structure and to manage the demand for forex. There is also a need to focus on productive knowledge in Nigeria with skills that can drive an industrially powered economy. Therefore, while taking steps to put an end to the semi-dollarization of the economy, improving the country's forex earnings and stabilizing the exchange rate requires developed domestic production structure for a diversified economy and export orientation that is supported by an effective trade policy as well as a conducive macroeconomic environment. Report written by Teslim Ajayi for Galaxy TV.
Yes, you're welcome back. Before we go on that short break, telling our guests, and of course you, the viewers, that we'll go on the next few minutes, the program, to look at solutions. And I want all of us that will be listening, because I have a gentleman who is very brilliant in the studio. Don't take for granted what he is going to say. He has not said anything, but I know that words of wisdom will come out of his mouth that will help us, help you, help me to get out of this place that is called this dollarized economy. Let the world, maybe it's a country that has a dollar now, and all over the world, dollar, dollar, dollar. They can turn the tide, yes, and then it will be a Nairanized economy, yes, all, yes, over the world. Yes, don't forget, if it's not pounds, it is euro. If it's not euro, it is yen. Yes. There are other currencies of the world that are strong. Why is it that it's the naira that is the weak and the whipping boy? We will do something. I want us all as a Nigerian people to do something to ensure that the naira it becomes a nairalized currency all over the world is doable. If the Chinese yen, the Japanese yen, and all these other dollars and pounds and even the French franc are all doing well internationally, there is nothing that stops Nigeria from doing well in the economy of the world. Yes. And to that extent, I want to start this way. I know that what makes a country to be self-sufficient and independent and for the economy to be strong is industrialization. Yeah. Is it possible for government to rev up its industrial policy? I've crisscrossed Nigeria. Even if it's just my little experience that I told you about, from Lagos to Abeokuta, through the interchange to Abeokuta, left and right, vast expanse of land, unused as it were. Well, you have a small peasant farmers, and that I told you that you'll see one banana stem here, yes. You'll see one down there, yes. They are scattered. Whereas if it's industrialized, they'll be in a row, they'll be side by side, mechanized, of course they'll be treated, and the outputs will be high. And of course, it will meet local demand, and of course, there will be export. It will be available for export, for international world, yes. And that's where the naira will now be
getting stronger.
So, your own contribution.
The truth is that we currently have a we operate a mono economy. Mm-hmm. When I say mono economy, I mean that we have only single source of foreign earnings in Nigeria, which is petroleum products, mm-hmm. which accounts for about 70% of our foreign earnings. So there should be a diversification of our foreign or forex earning capacities. You mentioned it, agriculture. We can't have the kind of, lands we have in Nigeria where agriculture could be a major source of foreign revenue. That is untapped area. Everybody wants to wear suit, they want to wear tie, nobody wants to get his hand, dirty to be able to make a meaningful contribution. So government, first and foremost, must begin to churn out policies that will diversify our economy. Our economy is so monolithic that if anything happens to oil, that is the end for our economy. So we must look beyond oil. We must begin to look at other ways and create incentives for investors, for manufacturers, because when you encourage these people, what happens in Nigeria is that we have too many policies, and some of those policies work against the interest of the economy. If you want to encourage farmers, for instance, and we are having the kind of insecurity we have in Nigeria, that cannot work. Nobody wants to go and die. So part of why we are facing this type of hyperinflation, or you call it galloping inflation, is because we could not even produce what we can eat. At this moment, we are not talking about exportation. We are talking about consumption. Let us have 3 square meals a day. So we cannot produce what we eat. And we are talking about producing the one that can be imported. So these are vital areas government must look into to begin to address this issue, because it has gotten out of hand as we speak. We see what is happening in some areas where people, vandalize vehicle conveying food items. They now say they are hungry. That cannot be a defense anyway. Yeah. But the root cause of this is because they cannot afford 2 or 3 square meals a day. So government must show sincerity of effort and stop politicizing everything. The Central Bank of Nigeria in the last few months has been, in the media for one reason or the other. There were policies, monetary policies that came up before the election, which has now had a far-reaching implication on our economy. And the new management of Central Bank is trying to mop up some of those cash and see whether they can stabilize Naira. So these are policies of government will go a long way in determining how strong your economy and your monetary policies will be. So government is at the forefront of this call for them to sit up. Then Nigerians, because some people have this perception, that once things are not going back, some people are benefiting from it, and that is true. That's an adage in my village.
Yes.
You know, I wouldn't want to say it here, but that is a loose interpretation. So Nigerians should stop taking advantage of certain situations. Nigeria cannot work without Nigerians, no matter how good intention the policies of government is. If Nigerians have not keyed into it, or they are not willing to accept that we have to move forward, nothing is going to happen. So, of course, a few months ago, a few weeks ago, one of our colleagues, the Leonard Femi Falana, had gone to court to get an order to compare government to fixed prices of certain, you know, products. Yeah, it was all over. People celebrated it. But I was of the view that everything cannot be gotten through the courts. Everything cannot be by pronouncement or by decisions of the court. Yes, because those decisions must
to cauterize our
exactly. So of course, even that judgment, with respect to the learned say, you know, how do you begin to fix prices on items that you don't produce? If I use 1,000 naira to import an item, government will come and put a fixed price. Then government will go and be the one to import it.
Has galloped.
Yeah, so you see, some of those things, price control and all of that, it has to do with local produce, the ones you can produce within your territory. You know, if I'm importing items, you cannot tell me to government to fix prices. So, but these are efforts of persons to ensuring that government sits up and begin to see the need for them to have policies that will address some of this concern. Nigeria, as we speak, is in a serious crisis. We are not at war, but we're in serious crisis. I read some time ago, a few days ago, that Ukraine, which is currently having a war-torn country, donated some grains to Nigeria. Yes, of course, we accepted it. Some people celebrated it, while some condemned it. That it was a slap. A country that is at war is not supplying goods. We are not at war, but we cannot produce what we can eat. So every hands must be on deck. There must be a concerted effort for us to ensure that the economy bounces back.
Yes. Maybe we'll use this to round up. And the way I see it, we'll have to come again and discuss this. So a few days ago, an issue occurred, and my wife was telling me that it's because government is slack. That's why we have gotten to this level. When something is said to be done and people don't do it. Ukraine and other countries that have this excess food that they now use to give other countries, they are not slack. There is a policy on ground, and everyone ensures that that policy succeeds and they are realized and they achieve it. Where am I going? As a young kid, still in the secondary school, I remember one Obasanjo brought Operation
Feed the Nation.
Yes,
I remember.
And that has been in my brain till tomorrow. In my house, I have a small farm. And you need to see the plantain that comes from my farm, in my backyard. Tomatoes, pepper, and all these little things. Of course, it won't be enough. And that's why, because it wasn't enough, we've exhausted the one. The one we have is not too big enough. It's not even a trap for consumption. That made me to stop by the way to buy.
Implement it.
But where am I going? OFN it's called. And along the line, other governments too have come with such other agricultural policies. I remember Babangida came with this deep-free thing, headed by one Larry Konya then. I was involved then because I've grown up a bit. I left Lagos, I went into the farm because my grandfather has a big farmland in one of the villages in which he was it was a minor lord then.
Yes.
Government encouragement is not there. If you see the policy on ground is not there. I'm talking as a victim. OFM, different thing.
Yes.
Government will just make the announcement, they will vote money, and the money will disappear. And what magic do we expect from such thing? And how can we now stop such thing? Because to give you a second thought, I was reading Laolo Akonde some few seconds ago before we came on air. Yes. He was saying that that the former government, I was looking at, are you not part of the former government? Saying that there is so much corruption in the system that this current government should probe. Is he not part of the former government? So mine is that what can be done to ensure that government's policies see the light of the day and they are on track, not that some people will disturb it. If Ukraine can be giving us food at this level, then definitely it's shameful.
Yes, it is. In fact, what we need is national reorientation. Each time I have opportunity to speak on the air, I always encourage that people must queue into policies of government. There must be a mindset, a perceptual change. People will begin to see that it is no longer about me, myself, and my family, and I, as the case may be. You begin to think beyond your own personal interests. Because when you have that at heart, you'll be able to see that this thing will affect the generality of the public, negatively. You mentioned agriculture, this Operation Feed the Nation. These are national policies, which was, they sang it like a song then. People internalized it and began to practicalize it. When I was growing up, we rarely buy certain items in the market. We have we have farms. So at least even if you are not feeding others, you can feed yourself. But because of a lot of innovations, changes, there is huge rural urban migration. So nobody wants to stay in the rural villages to be able to produce certain goods, at least to feed their families. Everybody is now looking for white-collar jobs, which are non-existent anymore. So these are some of the issues. And I believe that because of the urgency of now, the urgency of the moment, federal government must come up with agricultural policies. Because, see, hunger, the first law is survival. You must survive. And when people get to this point, they will do everything to survive. So government must come up with agricultural policies, ensure that at least one local government in each state will be dedicated for agriculture. Give people who want to go, give them loan, give them incentives, give them mechanized equipment for them to produce more. Encourage them with fertilizer, reduce the cost of fertilizer, and so on. That would, within few months, we're about to enter rainy season. By the time dry season comes, we'll see the change. But no, nobody wants to do that. We prefer to be sharing money. You give 1 billion, 2 billion, as the case may be, to state governors to share. How do you share such money? If you give you 1 naira today, is that what you are going to eat tomorrow? So the urgency of now requires urgent actions, and government must step up.
Government must step up. Government must step up. Seriousness must be the watchword of government now. If they don't want to have crisis, it does not matter. Really, I want to appreciate the Tinubu government. I don't normally appreciate government, but I've not had him sit down to now begin to say, yes, this government, this past government is the cause. He's facing it frontally, and I want him to face it frontally and to ensure that there is success. Policies that needs to be pushed seriously without looking back must be pushed seriously. The time is gone, and the way we did, there are so many things that we have to chew on this program, particularly as it relates to this dollarized economy. How do we now remove Nigeria from being dollarized to being nairalized, and to make the economy a strong one, Naira will be strong. It's going to be a series that will be running for the next few weeks. And of course, look at how we can turn the technology. We spoke about agriculture today, industry, the technology that is moving around the world. We must take advantage. How do we do that? Maybe that will be, of course, the next topic. My brother, this time around, I will have your commitment on air. Next week, we'll be here together so as to move that one. Then, of course, maybe another set of people will come. We'll look at industry, because technology, we'll look at industry, we'll look at education. Very well. Because you see, education is the engine of growth. Very well. If you are not educated, you can come here and be talking like this.
Of course, we didn't mention it today because an hungry man cannot reason.
You cannot reason.
So you have to eat food
for you to reason. So that's why we started with agriculture. Well. When you are now well fed, then you can reason. Then we'll now look at education. So all these are the points that we'll be looking at in the next few days, in the next few weeks. God helping us. Till then, don't forget, just try to be a good Nigerian. As our guest has said, your own contribution is to ensure that you behave very well, do things that will make productivity be uppermost. Whatever you are doing, do it with the Nigerian heart, not with the dollar heart. and I know you will make it, we'll all make it, and we'll all get there. The economy that you are going through is galloping. It will come down. It is natural thing. It will come down, and when it comes down, every one of us will enjoy it. Till next week, when we meet again, don't do anything against the law. Bye. Cheers.